So today we are going to discuss the compartments of the thigh, different compartments. So we will first see this anterior compartment, then move towards this medial compartment, and then we will discuss the posterior compartment of the gluteal region. So initially how this should be inserted. That will be done in the later classes when we will conclude this section. So initially a line is joined which is laterally from this anterior superior iliac spine and medially to the pubic tubercle. This is a curved line, curved incision, and this corresponds to the lower abdominal crease. Second incision is given at just below the knee or just 1 inch below this medial and lateral condyle of the teeth, joining these two. Okay? This is the second incision. Then a third incision is done joining the midpoint of these. This is how a flap been prepared, and these flap are raised laterally as well as medially. Now we have seen already how facial attire is there, but there is one thing which is left. It is the superficial inguinal lymph node. And here the superficial inguinal lymph node is around 20 lymph nodes, and these are arranged roughly in a irregular T-shaped fashion. So it comprises of a vertical group, which in relation with this terminal portion of the great saphenous vein, and there is a horizontal group, which is subdivided into superolateral and superomedial group. So that's how these three groups are formed: a vertical group, and along this terminal portion of the great saphenous vein, and this horizontal group divided into superolateral and superomedial. The horizontal portion of this superficial inguinal lymph node, they lie just below the inguinal ligament. So they are lying superficial, and these drain the various portions as shown here. This superomedial portion, it drains the portion related to the groin and the portion of the anterior abdominal wall just below the umbilicus. And this portion also drains the outer portion of the anal canal, the portion related to the external genitalia. This superolateral, it drains the various lymphatic related to the flank and the portion below the breast, lateral, or even the lateral portion of the thigh. They converge towards this superolateral, and this vertical group, it drains various lymphatic from the portion of the leg, even for the foot, the leg, portion of the knee, and this portion, lower portion of the thigh. They converge towards this vertical group. Finally, the efferent from these superficial, they converge towards the saphenous opening and passes through the pubiform fascia. That's why it is sieve-like, multiple perforation because of this lymphatic also along with this vein and all. So this portion of the different lymphatics, they passes through this pubiform fascia to enter into mainly the external iliac lymph node, and some of them even enter the deep inguinal. So this is about the superficial inguinal. They are palpable when there is an inflammation or there is some pathology in the portion of their drainage. Now deep to that, when you cut and explore this portion, you will see the lymph node which is lying in the deeper portion along the portion of the terminal portion of this great saphenous vein which joins the femoral vein. So along this portion, along this just medial to the portion of the femoral vein, we can see the deep inguinal lymph node 4 to 5 in number. Deep inguinal. Now, later on what we do is we remove this facial attire accordingly, as we have removed the skin in the similar fashion, and we note these Before that, we know these subcutaneous vessels, these veins as well as the artery, subcutaneous artery, and these cutaneous innervation nerves. We have already discussed this, so we'll go through that next portion. Then lateral in the lateral portion, just to revise, there is this concentration of this fasciolata in the lateral portion known as iliotibial tract, and the upper portion, this portion has this muscular portion, muscles related to this, and this portion is the tensor fasciolata, lying between the split portion of the fasciolata. So this is lying lateral in the portion of the anterior compartment. This is how the compartments are divided. This is how the compartments are divided. You can see here, this is the anterior compartment, then this is the medial compartment or the adductor compartment, and this is the posterior compartment. And there are two intermuscular septa. This is the medial intermuscular septa and this is the lateral intermuscular. Obviously, the lateral one is much thicker and more easily appreciated. So, in case of this portion of the thigh, there are three compartments, three functional muscle compartments. One is this anterior compartment, which includes the tensors, and then there's a posterior compartment, which includes the flexors, and there is a medial compartment, which includes the adductor. They are related to the knee, working on the knee joint. So, anterior and posterior, they are the two of your facial compartment, and medial is related to the anterior compartment. So that will be visualized anterior. And these compartments, they are under the one compartment, one nerve principle. This is the principle that governs them. So, anterior compartment, it has this dedicated nerve known as the femoral nerve. Then medial compartment, it has the nerve which is the obturator nerve, and posterior compartment, it is supplied by the sciatic. So, this is the one compartment, one nerve principle. So, we discuss the anterior compartment first. The content of the anterior compartment, it includes the muscles, which comprises the extensors of the knee, and some of these are even the flexors of the hip joint. So includes the sartorius, the quadriceps femoris, which is a collective portion of the four muscles, rectus femoris, and three varsi, vastus medialis, intermedialis, and vastus latalis. And there are two muscles which are lying deep to these. One is iliopsoas, which is comprised of two different muscles, iliacus and psoas major, and there is one small muscle near the knee joint, and this is the articularis same. Now the artery of this compartment is the femoral artery branches. The veins retaining this compartment is the femoral vein, and nerve dedicated to it is the femoral nerve. Now we will start with this. So, after removing the fasciolata, we have to identify these muscles which are lying in the anterior compartment. So, there is one long muscle running obliquely, whose fibers are running parallel running fibers, and this portion is running obliquely, and this is the sartorius, the longest muscle of your body. Yes. No, briefly just we will see how at this juncture we can see the femoral triangle. This femoral triangle is related to this muscle in the anterior compartment, and this is lying just medial to this, medial to the sartorius. So this is bounded by this medial border of the sartorius, and medially it is bounded by this medial border of the adductor longus, because the adductor longus is lying oblique. So this medial border is which is lying superficial. Medial border is. So we'll start with the muscle. First muscle is the sartorius. This is the longest muscle of your body. Start with this anterior superior iliac spine and the knot just below, and the parallel running fiber then proceeds downwards and medially, and it is then attached to this anterior portion of the tibia just below the medial contact, this portion. And here there is an attachment of three more muscles from three different compartments. This is from the anterior compartment, then from the middle compartment there is gracilis, and from the posterior compartment there is semitendinosus. And they join to form a structure which is known as pes anserinus. Then this is supplied by the femoral nerve, and since this is how these three are attached. Sartorius most anteriorly at the pes anserinus, then just posterior to that is the gracilis, the tendon of the gracilis inserting, and just posterior to that is the tendon of the semitendinosus from the back of the thigh, from the posterior compartment. And these together form this structure which is known as pes anserinus, or known as goose foot, like the foot of or the digits of the bird. So this is known as goose foot. Another action of the cartilage. This is how it acts. It causes flexion at the hip joint, external rotation or lateral rotation, as well as abduction. And at the knee, it causes flexion. So this is how we sit in the passive position because of the sartorius. And this is a weak flexor. Now rectus femoris. It is one of the quadriceps. So it originates from as two heads of origin. One is known as the straight head and one is known as the reflected. The straight head is from the anterior iliac spine, and the reflected head is from a groove just above the acetabulum and the capsule of the head. And from here there is a straight running fibers of this muscle which finally join this patellar tendon along with the other quadriceps. So it inserts into the tibial tuberosity through this patellar ligament. This is the portion of origin of the rectus femoris. Straight head and reflected. And finally it inserts through this patellar tendon into the tibial tuberosity. Here also this portion is shown, and this is how it it is as a bipinnate muscle because of these two heads of the origin. So the muscle is bipinnate, and they combine with the other portion and form this tendon, and finally it is inserted into the tibial tendon. Now since this portion also crosses the hip joint as well as the knee joint, so it is causing this flexion at the hip and extension at the hip. So it is a hip flexor when it crosses the hip joint, and extensor of the knee when it crosses the knee joint. Now next muscle is the vastus latalis. Vastus latalis, it has a long portion of origin. Start from this upper part of the intertrochanteric line, this upper part of the intertrochanteric line. Then along this anterior and inferior border of the greater trochanter, then in continuity with the lateral lip of the gluteal tuberosity, and then continues along the proximal half of the lateral lip of linea aspera, which is lying posterior. So that's how it originates. And insert again through the tibial tuberosity into the tibial tuberosity through the patellar ligament. And this is the site of intramuscular injection in case of children. Because in adult, we employ the gluteus portion or the deltoid portion, but in case of children, this is the portion of the preferred site of the intramuscular injection. Then vastus medius. Again, this portion it has this wide origin, just opposite from this medial portion. So it originates from the lower part of the intertrochanteric line, this lower part of the intertrochanteric line, then spiral line, then medial lip of the linea aspera, and proximal part of the medial supracondylar line, and even from this ligament of the adductor magnus in the lower portion. So finally it insert into the tibial tuberosity through this patellar ligament. And in the intermediate position, just like deep to the rectus humerus, is the vastus intermedius. So it originates from the shaft of the anterior and the lateral surface of the upper two-thirds of the shaft of the femur, and again insert into the tibial tuberosity through the patellar ligament. And that's how these quadriceps they combine. So quadriceps femoris, the action is this is a powerful extension of the knee, and one of them since crosses the hip joint also, which is the rectus femoris. Other than that, all of them they are originating from the femur only. Only the rectus femoris it is originating from the hip bone, so it crosses the hip joint. So it is a flexor of the hip. And this one thing more, because of this neck of the femur, all of the muscle they are arising laterally, and their pull is pulling the patella outwards towards lateral and proximal. So their pull is oblique. So this causes destabilization of the patella, and patellar stabilizer is only this lowermost fiber of the vastus medialis, which is originating from the adductor magnus and the medial portion of the medial supracondylar knee. This portion, these fibers, they are the horizontally running fibers, and they are the most important fiber for stabilization of the patella. If that is weakened, that there will be destabilization of the patella. Now deeper to that, this is the muscle which is iliopsoas. So this is a combination of two muscles. One is the iliacus which is lying laterally, and psoas major which is lying. So psoas it originates from the lateral surfaces of the vertebra T12 to L5, and iliacus as it is evident from the name, it is coming from the iliac fossa. In their combined tendon, they combine and passes below the inguinal ligament and inserted into the lateral trochanter of the femur. So nerve supply of the iliacus is up to the femoral nerve, but of the psoas is L1, L2 and L3, mainly L2. And since it also crosses this hip joint anteriorly, that then the contraction will cause a flexion at the hip joint. So it is again the flexure of the hip. And this is the small muscle known as articularis insane, just above the knee. And this is thought to be a dissociated part of the vastus intermedius. So it originates from the anterior surface of the lower part of the femoral shaft and insert into the proximal reflection of the synovial membrane of the knee joint. So when it contracts, it tracks this synovial membrane upwards and prevents this impingement. when it is this portion of the synovial membrane which may get wrapped between the lower portion of the femur and the patella. So this is the articulation. Now some more points from this patellar tendon and the patellar ligament. So till now we know this patellar tendon is what? Patellar tendon is the combined tendon of the quadriceps, and this patellar ligament, it arises from the apex and the lateral edges of the patella, and it inserts into the tibial tuberosity. That's how the patellar ligament is. And there are two expansions from this, which is again reinforced by the fascial arteries. And these portions are known as medial, this flattened portion, which is going towards the tibia, related to the portion of the condyle of the tibia, medial and lateral condyle. These flattened portions, they are known as medial and lateral patellar retinaculum. So there is one applied aspect related to this patellar tendinitis. As the name suggests, there is inflammation of the tendon of the patella. So this is because one keeps the knee straight, and that will be straightened by what? By the quadriceps. So in case of these who perform jumping movement like doing basketball or this baseball and anything or sprinter which utilizes the jumping activity. In those, because of the several times of tear, there may be inflammation of the tendon, patellar tendon, and that causes the jumper's patellar tendinitis. And severe tear may cause the rupture of the tendon also, which is known as the patellar tendon rupture. We are over running out of time.